Shalom, all praises to Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the elders, and honors to the brothers out there bringing this word out. We're here again to basically talk about the downfall of this kingdom, which is so-called America, which is a corporation. You know, yeah, because this kingdom is basically bullshit. Let me get Job 9:24.
Alright. This is Job chapter 9 verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
Yeah, the hand of the wicked, so-called white man. Why? Because he basically pollutes the air with his chemtrails. You know what I mean? He brings out bullshit laws like the laws, like this article right here. New York AM. Basically, the Supreme Court they pushed out a law where if the cops, if they think they smell weed outside your house or apartment, they could like kick in your door, which is bullshit because they could lie and say they smell something. You know what I mean? That's a unrighteous decree. You know what I mean? They put out they create the AIDS virus and say it comes from a green monkey when AIDS can't jump species. You know what I mean? It's a retrovirus. It attacks human T cells, and they put that in a vaccine. You know what I mean? That's the bullshit they do. They're Planned Parenthood, which is to kill the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. They put that out. You know what I mean? With the Planned Parenthood, eugenics. What else they do?
Yeah, I mean, hey, because like the scripture says, like the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. Like the brothers bringing out, the only race of people that's doing all this wicked, you know, legislation and all this wickedness is a so-called white man. You know, he's the one that's putting out these unrighteous decrees. He's the one that's making all this bullshit legislation. You know, going back to Jacob and Esau, you know, the forefather, you so-called white people, the so-called white man being from, you know, the nation of Edom or Esau, he's the one that's literally putting his hand in all this different legislation, saying what has to be done, saying what shouldn't be done. All in all, also saying that the law of the land is the Bible. Right. You know, the so-called white man is the only one that's going about doing all this wicked legislation, but yet being a snake, saying that the Bible is the law of the land, that constitutes him being as the wicked. You know, opposite to righteousness. You know, it's not the gooks. It's not, you know, the so-called Africans. It's not the so-called Arabs. Process of elimination is you so-called white people that have your hands in everything. You know.
The rest.
Yep. The earth is given. Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
Yeah, the judges, the angels, the prophets, the Most High. When he put up that image of Caesar Borgia or whatever, which is a so-called white man, the Bible doesn't depict that image. The Most High is his skin is like burnt brass. You know what I mean? The dark brown. You know what I mean? This is a close depiction of what the Most High would look like. Not pasty face. You know what I mean? Let me get.
Oh, there's still some more in there. Right. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?
If the so-called white man is not the if the so-called white man is not the wicked, who is? The so-called gooks don't run the world. They don't control the resources. So-called Hamites, they ain't running shit, which is who the world calls, I mean the Hamites, so-called Africans, they're not running nothing. It's the Edomites.
This is Job chapter 20 verse 4. Knowest thou not this of old, since man was placed upon earth, that the triumphing of the wicked is short.
Yes, since man was put on this planet, the triumphing of the wicked is short. The Most High has created a bounds which Esau he can't pass. His days are numbered, which he knows that. That's why he's trying to bring forth his new world order, his so-called enterprise, because this is a corporation. We're all citizens. And that corporation, we consider it like a product of that corporation. That's why we have a birth certificate, social security card, shit like that. It means birth certificate, ownership. The so-called illuminated ones who run the world is basically, they're saying we're their property.
That the triumphing of the wicked is short, and the joy of the hypocrite but for a moment.
Right. That's right. Your rulership is basically is numbered.
I got this is 2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 7. Then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times, or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau.
Yeah, that means that Esau he would rule for a short time, but then Jacob would basically he would take over. He would rise above him, and he would have the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah, who's Jacob?
Jacob is the so-called Negroes, so-called Spanish, so-called Native Americans, or whatever. That's the nation of Israel.
Who's Esau?
Esau is a so-called white man. He has a leprosy, which Genesis 25 talks about when he came out all red.
For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
Yeah, Esau is the end, and Jacob is the beginning. He would the nation of Israel would get that power back from the Most High.
Yeah. Esau is the end of this world. Who's ruling this world? You brought it out. Job 9:24. So Esau is the end of the world. Yeah, so there is going to be an end of a world, but the end of not of the whole entire world, because scriptures tell you in Ecclesiastes, right, that the earth was made to abide forever.
Yeah.
Okay, but Esau is the end of the world, meaning this present world that we're living in now. Okay, because when you go into the Greek, the word cosmos means separate societies. Okay, so there's many different worlds, man. Okay, and this we're in Esau's world right now. Why? Because he's in rulership, and all the wickedness is reigning supreme on this earth, man. But Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Okay, Esau is the end of the world, meaning the so-called white man is going to be brought down through Yahushua, and Jacob is the beginning of the new world, of the kingdom of heaven. Okay, and he's going to pull Esau down out of his power, man. Okay. So Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. So after the so-called white man's taken out of power, you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, you're gonna have the world in righteousness under Yahushua, who the world usually calls Jesus Christ, which is a so-called black man according to the Bible. Hey, brother.
Yep. This is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Yeah, could you read that again for me?
Yep. This is Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Yeah, the righteous aren't in authority right now because we're catching hell. You know, we can't even this white man, he has control over the air. He has air rights, man. That's crazy. We can't even breathe. We don't have freedom to breathe no more. We can't drink pure water. You know what I mean? We eat when we eat, we're all worn out. because he takes the nutrients out of the food. He poisons the food. You know, we're not rejoicing right now. Only ones rejoicing is the so-called Illuminati. And I mean, and what's the latter part of that again?
Yep. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Yeah, we're mourning right now because we're not in authority. You know.